My name is Callie Monroe. I am 21 and right now I'm sitting in a glass-walled room at North Peak Credit Union, a branch I've never used. My dad presses a pen into my palm and my mom clamps my elbow so hard I see stars. The folder says custody conversion. The pages say durable financial proxy. I smile and slide a Post-it under the water tray. The room smells like lemon cleaner and old carpet. A soft hum comes from the ceiling vent. My dad leans forward with a grin that looks like a sticker slapped on the wrong box. "Sign here and here," he says. "Routine stuff." My mom nods like a metronome. "We already talked to the officer. They are just finalizing what your grandmother wanted." Her voice is sugar, but her nails dig crescents into my sleeve. Routine is a strange word for a document that turns my future into someone else's handle. The title page says one thing, the inner pages say another. Durable financial proxy, full discretion to the proxy, authority to transfer and pledge assets, irrevocable unless canceled by court order. I've seen enough fine print to know when a hand is reaching into my pocket with a friendly smile. I take a breath and let my voice stay calm. Before I sign anything I like to read, the officer across the table, Mr. Keene, gives me a gentle banker smile. "Of course," he says, "it is standard language, consolidation, efficiency, family planning, words that sound helpful until you follow the wire they are wrapped around and find the hook." My grandmother Ruth called hooks by their names. She was an auditor for 30 years and carried a pocket calculator the way some people carry rosary beads. "Numbers are a prayer you can check," she used to tell me. She turned a small inheritance into an education plan with rules that guarded me from panic decisions. I hear her voice now as clearly as the vent hum. "Read twice. Sign once. If anyone rushes you, ask why." I flip a page. There's a blank line labeled proxy name. It is already filled in with my dad's full name in neat block letters. The date is left open like a mouth waiting for a word. I trace the letters with my eyes and do not lift the pen. My heart thumps against my ribs like a hand testing a locked door. Mr. Keene clears his throat. "We are trying to help you move quickly so you do not miss the window," he says. "Our systems are a little backed up. If we start now, the funds will be positioned for when you are eligible." My mom smiles at me. "We want you to feel safe, honey. Your dad understands this stuff. You are just starting out. Let us carry it for a while." I slide the Post-it closer to the edge of the water tray with the side of my pinky. The note is small and neat. Coercion suspected. Please call the branch manager. I keep my eyes on the document while my other hand nudges the plastic pitcher a half inch. The Post-it disappears beneath the tray's lip like a leaf under a dock plank. My dad drums the table. He never drums unless he is pretending to be patient. "You always overthink," he says. "This is the grown-up way to do things. Families share. You do not want to learn the hard way the world does not care about idealism." He laughs like that sentence is a joke he has told in a dozen kitchens. I look up and meet his eyes. "Then why does the world care so much about who holds the pen?" I ask. For a second, his smile slips. My mom squeezes again. "That hurts," I say, and she loosens her grip without an apology. The glass wall turns opaque with a soft click as Mr. Keene presses a button for privacy. The room shrinks. I can see my face reflected now, faint and pale, a second me sitting beside me. I picture Nana Ruth adjusting her glasses, circling a line item, tapping the page. "Ask why, then ask who benefits." I set the pen down. "I will read every line," I say, out loud if I need to. If this is routine, it can handle daylight. Mr. Keene's smile thins. My dad's fingers stop drumming. The door opens a crack. A young teller slips in, picks up the water tray, and wheels it toward the hall. She does not look at me. She does not have to. The tray disappears. The door hushes shut. The room is quiet enough to hear that ceiling vent again. I turn another page and take my time. I can wait. I have learned that silence is not always surrender. Sometimes it is a fuse you light with your breath and hold until the right person walks in and sees the smoke. I do not know who will open the door next. I know I am not signing my life away while I wait. Your comment matters. Share where you are watching from, so together we can witness how far one quiet boundary can travel. Subscribe and walk with me, because what comes next is me taking my name back after years of letting other people write over it. When I was little, my grandmother Ruth kept a pocket calculator in her apron. She tapped it like a tiny drum and said numbers are a prayer you can check. She was an auditor for a long time. She did not like surprises that pretended to be gifts. When I turned 18, she took my hand and said that freedom needs a plan. She opened a custodial account and wrote rules in plain words. The funds would release when I turned 23, or when I finished a professional certificate that proved I could stand on my own. She wanted choices to live in my name. She wanted time to learn without panic. After she passed, the house felt too quiet. I kept her calculator in my desk, and the sound of those taps stayed in my head. My parents filled the silence with talk about family duty. They said the world is hard and families pull together. I wanted to believe them. I also wanted to believe my own eyes. Red letters on their bills. New things in their kitchen. Old debts that never seemed to end. There is one part I am not proud to say. I did not tell my boyfriend about the account. I told myself it was safety. I told myself privacy is not the same as secrecy. Still, it sat between us like a closed door. He asked why I always paid with a prepaid card. I said it was a budgeting trick. He nodded and called it cute. I felt the heat of a lie that was not a lie, and I left it there. People will argue about that choice. I argue with myself about it too. I started pulling my credit report every month. I locked my file. I kept copies of everything. I thought that would be enough. Then I learned something that changed the way I walked into any building with a logo. My dad had tried to borrow from North Peak last year and was turned down for risk. He did not tell me. I heard it from my aunt, who thought gossip was medicine. She said he knew a friendly officer who could get things done if paperwork made him feel stuck. She laughed when she said it. I did not laugh. I went back through old messages. I saw the pattern like tracks in snow. We need a bridge loan. We can hold the account for you. We can make it efficient. None of those words use the word take. None of those words use the word mine. That is how a hook hides. In the days before the meeting, my mother played a part I hated to see. She sent meals and made me favorite tea. She said first impressions matter. She laid a blue blouse on my bed. She said, wear this to the bank. She said, you will look like a serious young woman. I looked at the blouse and thought about stage costumes. The morning of the meeting, I printed a copy of the custodial rules. I slipped it into my folder with a checklist. Power of attorney, asset transfer, joint access. If I saw those words, I would slow down. If anyone rushed me, I would ask why. I also printed something else, an internal email that should not have reached me. It was tucked into a batch of disclosures the officer had sent for me to review. Most people skim. I do not skim. On the bottom of page 3, there was a footer that did not belong. Prepare joint access packet for TW. The first real crack shows up on my credit report like a coffee stain I did not make. A department store card with my name, my address, and a limit I would never approve. The account opened 6 weeks ago. The activity list reads like a shopping montage. A stainless steel refrigerator, a sound bar, and a 65-inch TV. A weekend at the Shoreline Lodge 2 towns over, billed as a spa package. I remember those dates, finals week. I was sleeping on Mina's couch, eating noodles out of a mug at midnight. I was not at a spa. I call the issuer and ask for a statement and the application file. The voice on the phone is cheerful, like we are planning a birthday. Of course, Ms. Monroe, I can send that right over. She reads the last 4 of my social. It is mine. My jaw tightens. I thank her and hang up, then sit very still and listen to the air in my apartment. It feels thinner. Most people would call the police first. I know that. I hear my grandmother anyway. Read twice, sign once. In my world, that becomes document before you detonate. I open a fresh notebook and start a log. Timestamps, names, extensions. I take screenshots of every page. I request copies by mail and ask for certified delivery. I place a fraud alert and then a full credit freeze at the bureaus. I print the confirmation emails and slide them into a blue folder labeled with today's date. I am not ignoring the fire. I am building a fire line. Mina says I should file a report now. She is probably right. I shake my head. If I move too early, they will sense the heat and scatter. I want one clean package with receipts, names, and a timeline no one can argue with. People will call that naive. Maybe it is. It is also the way I steady my hands. The store card packet arrives 2 days later. Inside is a photocopy of the application. The handwriting for my address is careful, but not mine. The phone number is my mother's cell. The emergency contact is Aunt Lila. I stare at that line until the letters blur. I call Lila from my kitchen, the blue folder open like a mouth on the table. She answers on the second ring. Too bright. Hey, Cal, long time. I ask her how her back is, how her terrier is, and then I ask the question that lands between us like a dropped dish. Did you give my social to Dad? There's a soft sound, a pause, and then the clatter of a spoon against a mug. He said it was temporary, she whispers. He said it would help clear the old cable judgment so it would stop garnishing. He said he would make it right. I close my eyes. Lila is the kind of person who apologizes to a chair when she bumps it. She's not a mastermind. She is a shortcut that someone else took. Why did you not call me first? I ask. I did not want to stir the pot, she says, small and guilty. I thank her for telling me and hang up before I say something I will regret. I add a new page to the log. I write her words down exactly. He said it was temporary. He said he would make it right. I underline temporary twice. The next morning, my phone lights up with a message from my dad like nothing has happened. Change of plans for the bank, kiddo. Downtown is slammed. We are meeting at the North Peak branch off Cedar Mill. Easier parking. Private glass room so you will not feel crowded. He adds a smiley face, the kind he uses when he wants to sound casual. I stare at the address. It is the suburban branch next to the car wash, the one with the tinted conference rooms that look like fish tanks when the blinds are closed. My stomach drops and then steadies. I text Mina the location and the time. She sends back 3 words. I am outside. I slide the blue folder into my bag. I add the custodial rule printout and the email footer about the joint access packet. I touch the old calculator in my pocket like a talisman and lock my door behind me. The Cedar Mill branch doors whoosh open when I push them, and a chill rolls across my arms. A greeter smiles and points me toward the back. The glass room waits, blinds ready to fog white at the push of a button. For privacy, my dad said. I can feel the hook in that word. I take one breath, then another, and step toward the handle. If love arrives with a signature line, is it still love? The question lands the moment my hand touches the glass room handle. Cedar Mill smells like cold air and copier toner. A receptionist smiles and points me in. My dad is already at the table. Mr. Keene is there with a polite banker smile. A neat stack of papers sits in the center like place settings. My mom adjusts her scarf and looks anywhere but my eyes. Mina texts that she is parked outside. I tell her to stay there. I say I do not want to make a scene. That is my choice, and it will bother people who care about me. It bothers me, too. Sometimes the smallest crowd is still too big to think. I walk in alone and set my blue folder down. I take out a single sheet that lists my rights as a beneficiary in plain print. I lay my checklist beside it. Power of attorney, asset transfer, joint access, notary. Any word on that list means I slow down. Mr. Keene taps the top page with a capped pen. We prepared everything to save you time, he says. This is a conversion packet. The custodian account will be streamlined so when your release date hits, the funds are ready. The words sound gentle. The words are a net. I lift the cover page. The next sheet is not a conversion script at all. It is a notary template. The stamp box is printed at the bottom. The witness lines are blank. The paragraph above them speaks about authority to act for the principal in financial matters. It is clean and professional and wrong for why I am here. My stomach goes cold and then steady. We have a notary on site, he adds. It takes 2 minutes. We can do it right now. That way you will not need to return. My dad smiles like the time he convinced a neighbor to let him borrow a ladder and never gave it back. He nudges the pen toward me. This is the efficient way, he says. This is how families help the person who is new to all of this. I put my palm on my checklist. I read the first item out loud, power of attorney. I read the second item, joint access. I ask why any conversion would require those two things. Mr. Keene gives me that patient look people use when they want you to give up. Sometimes we combine steps, he says. The economy is unpredictable. Consolidation reduces friction. I hear Nana Ruth tap her calculator in my head. Ask why, then ask who benefits. I slide my beneficiary rights sheet forward so the heading is clear. It states that I am the only authorized decision maker on the account until the release conditions are met. I point to the line about coercion. I say that pressure itself is a red flag. My mother winces. My dad drums the table once. I keep my voice calm. I say I will read each page. I say I will not sign anything I do not understand. I say daylight is the friend of any honest form. Mr. Keene presses the privacy button and the glass turns white. The room shrinks again. He uncaps the pen and places it by my wrist like a dare. He says the notary can be here in 60 seconds. He says I am lucky to have parents who are willing to help. I smile like I am agreeing. I ask to use the restroom. He blinks and then nods. Of course, he says. My dad starts to object and then waves it off. Be quick, he says. I pick up my bag and keep my steps even. The mirror in the restroom is too bright. I take a sticky note from my wallet. My hand shakes and then finds the line. Coercion here. Please page Manager Patel. I press the note against my palm until the ink warms. I fold it twice. The square disappears in my fist like a seed. When does loyalty become a silence that costs your future? I open the door and step back into the hall with the note ready and my breath steady. I walk back down the hall with the note pinched under my fingers. A teller rolls a cart past with a pitcher and paper cups. I angle my steps so our paths cross. My purse slips from my shoulder and hits the floor with a soft thud. Lip balm and coins skitter under the cart. I crouch fast. She crouches too. I press the folded square into her palm. Her face does not change. She gathers the lip balm. She sets my purse on the cart while she steadies the pitcher. Then she wheels away without a word. I breathe once and return to the room. The glass is still white. My dad grins like nothing is off. Mr. Keene taps the pen beside my hand. Ready when you are, he says. I flip to the notary page again and keep my voice steady. I am still reading. The door opens. A woman in a dark blazer steps in with the teller behind her. The teller sets the pitcher down and leaves. The woman shows a badge. Patel, branch manager, she says. I would like to speak with Miss Monroe alone for a moment. My dad rises at once. No need for that, he says. We are handling family paperwork. He reaches for my arm. Patel lifts a hand. Policy requires we separate parties when a concern is raised, she says. Her tone is calm and it carries. She touches a panel and the lock clicks. The glass stays white. Please wait in the lobby, she tells my parents. We will bring you back when we are done. My mom starts a soft cry. My dad argues. Patel does not argue back. A uniformed staffer appears in the doorway. My parents step out. The door shuts. The room is quiet. Patel sits across from me. Are you safe right now? She asks. I nod. She looks at the packet. She looks at my checklist. She looks at the notary page. Did you consent to this structure? She asks. I say no. I say my account is custodial with release conditions. I point to the page that mentions proxy authority. She nods once, like a tally mark. We will pause this meeting, she says. I am going to bring in compliance. I am also going to document everything. Do you have anything you want to add to the record? I pull my phone out and open my email. I address a message to myself and to her work address from her card. Subject line reads, Today, North Peak Cedar Mill memo. I type in short lines with timestamps from my lock screen. 10:41 Dad said sign, or you will miss your window. 10:43 Officer said consolidation, reduces friction. 10:45 Notary template present. Before any review, I hit send. The copy lands in both inboxes. A time-stamped memo is not a recording. It is a paper trail with legs. Patel presses the intercom. Please send compliance to room 3, she says. She unlocks the door. 2 staff step in. One carries a slim tablet in a case. They greet me by name. The tablet shows a paused frame of lobby footage from last week. My dad and Mr. Keene sit at a side desk. Mr. Keene holds a pen over a signature line and guides my dad's hand through a short mark. The mark matches the clipped version of my name I use on packages. The compliance lead looks at me. "Is this your signature style?" she asks. "It is a shorthand I use for deliveries," I say, "not for legal forms." She nods and makes a note. Patel turns back to me. "Thank you for flagging this," she says. "We are activating a coercion escalation form. That places a hold on any change to your accounts. It also requires an ombudsman review." She taps a few fields on the tablet. The glass shifts from white to clear, then to a soft frost again. Through it, I can make out shapes in the lobby. My dad's shoulders are squared. My mom's scarf is twisting in her hands. I feel my phone buzz. The memo to myself sits in my sent box. I open it and add one more line. 1058 manager separated parties under policy and locked room. She watches me type and gives a small nod. "You are doing the right thing," she says. The door opens again. A woman in a navy suit steps in with a badge that reads Ombudsman. Patel stands to greet her. "We are escalating for coercion and for irregular document preparation," Patel says. The ombudsman looks at me and then at the packet. "Let us begin on the record," she says. Patel taps the form and the case number appears. The next click will start the hearing. Compliance starts with switches I cannot see. Patel flags my profile, locks movement on every related account, and issues a new internal identifier, so any stale credentials die on contact. A fraud case opens with a case number that looks like a license plate. The ombudsman reads the record aloud. Meeting paused. Parties separated. Suspicious notary template present. Prior coaching of signature observed on camera. I add another memo email to myself and to Patel with the timestamp. They reset my verbal password and temporary PIN while I sit there. We add a passphrase only I would know. Patel recommends I request a civil restraining order tied to financial contact. She explains it in plain words. It does not put anyone in handcuffs. It builds a legal wall so pressure cannot reach you by text, call, or doorstep. The ombudsman nods. She says their legal liaison can draft a letter of support for the court. Then compliance shows the piece that turns my stomach. It is an email chain pulled from Mr. Keene's work account. CC threads spidering out like cracks. Subject line reads, "Family Venture Structure." My dad is on it from a personal address. There's a slide deck attachment I never saw. Bullet points say collateralize custodial funds at release, open joint sweep, use LOC to seed venture, repay from projected net within 9 months. A line in the margin reads, with proxy in place, timing risk minimal. My name appears as if I am a line item. I feel my face go cold. The ombudsman asks if I want law enforcement notified now. Yes, for the documents, I say. For the family part, I need a minute. Patel watches me the way a surgeon watches a monitor. "Take the minute," she says. I make one more controversial choice. I ask that my mother's name not appear in the first filing. I say she played along, but she also looked away and she is not the architect. I want the focus on my dad and on Mr. Keene. Patel notes my request and tells me it may narrow the case and limit protection. The ombudsman warns that omissions can weaken patterns. I nod anyway. The line I draw today costs me something, and I know it. Patel clicks submit on the coercion escalation and the fraud case routes to legal. She prints me a packet for the courthouse and offers to walk me to the door. My phone buzzes before I stand. A text from my dad appears on the screen like a dare. "Pick us or your balance. You cannot keep both." Evershore Bank opens my account with a quiet click and a camera flash. I enroll my face and my voice and a passphrase only Nana Ruth would guess. The banker has me repeat it twice. Numbers are a prayer you can check. The app asks for a fingerprint and a short video saying my name. I move my direct deposit and set every alert to loud. I ask them to port the custodial assets on release with no third-party access. They nod and hand me a folder that feels like a seatbelt. I start therapy the same week. My counselor teaches me to name the trick where love arrives as debt. We practice sentences that hold a line without apology. No is a full sentence. Not today is a plan. I leave the office with my shoulders lower and my breath deeper. I join a small group for people who lived through family financial abuse. We pass around stories like spare batteries. Mina becomes my chosen family by doing 100 small things that are not small. She keeps a spare key in a ceramic dish by her door. She texts me grocery deals and locks when she knows I'm late. On Sundays, we cook too much soup and freeze it in flat bags because she says flat bags stack better when life gets crowded. She is right. My internship in risk analytics starts on a drizzly Monday. I learn how systems flag patterns before humans do. I map the ways a bad actor rides on credibility, and I watch the model raise its hand. I think of Mr. Keen's smile and my dad's drumbeat fingers, and I feed the model cleaner data. I like work that returns a signal when you send one. Then a letter arrives in a stamped envelope that smells like my mother's laundry soap. Inside are photocopies of receipts that say refund in block letters, the department store, the spa package. A small note in her handwriting says, "I am making amends where I can." There is also an appointment card for a financial responsibility program. It lists her next session date at 9 in the morning. I sit with the papers spread like tiles, and I feel something crack and settle inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but movement. On Thursday afternoon, an email from North Peak lands in my inbox. Subject line reads, "Disciplinary hearing notification." The ombudsman invites me to speak at the internal hearing regarding Mr. Keen. The date is set. The room will be recorded. They ask if I wish to submit an impact statement. I open a blank page and place the cursor on the first line. The room is a library auditorium with soft lamps and a lectern that wobbles if you lean on it. On the screen behind me is a simple slide, First Boundary Fund, in memory of Ruth Monroe. I touch the little calculator I brought in my pocket like a keepsake and look at the faces in the chairs, students, single parents, people who have kept too many secrets about money because love asked them to. Mina sits in the front row. She gives me a small nod that feels like a green light. I tell them what happened without making anyone a villain. I say my grandmother taught me that numbers are a prayer you can check, and that a signature is a story about who holds power. I tell them there was a day in a glass room when I was told that family shares, and that the fastest way was to turn my future into a proxy. I say the sentence I wrote for myself and for anyone who needs it. The day you tried to make me sign away my future, I signed a boundary you can't erase. I explain how a boundary is not a wall against love. It is a door frame that keeps the house standing. Independent accounts are not betrayal. Credit freezes are not cruelty. Documentation is a form of tenderness toward your future self. The fund will pay filing fees for restraining orders tied to financial coercion. It will offer workshops on reading fine print and spotting hooks that hide inside helpful language. It will give microgrants for locks, for credit pulls, for a first appointment with a counselor who knows the shape of this kind of wound. I tell them my mother sent receipts that said refund and a card for a class she chose on her own. I tell them healing is not a scoreboard. It is a road you walk with good shoes and honest weather reports. I tell them I chose to speak at the hearing, not to ruin anyone, but to fix a process, so the next daughter does not sit where I sat. Here is the lesson I leave on the table like a clean ledger. Boundaries protect love. Financial independence is dignity in action. Healing does not mean revenge. It means choosing a future over a feud and choosing compassion without surrendering the facts. If you are listening and you have drawn a line with someone you loved, tell me about the first time you did it and how it felt in your chest. Your story might be the map someone else needs for their own first boundary.